Good morning, afternoon, and evening. My name is Yafi, and I'm the host of this channel. Before we get started, I'd just like to say that it's been a while since I have been on this channel, and I hope you guys welcome me back with open arms. Today, we will be exploring the vast lands of Shanti, my Pokemon region. As some of you know, Shanti has been my main project for a while. I recently rebooted it because I wanted a more authentic Bangladeshi region, and the beta Shanti that I currently have right now is not really authentic. I could show the whole text of the region if you guys want me to, but pay in mind the art of the Pokemon are pretty old. So today we are going to be dwelling upon the starters of the Shanti region. Starting us off is Peep, the first stage of my grass starter. Peep is a pretty unassuming Pokemon, like most starter first stages. I made the top of his head look like broccoli, and it kind of looks like a Zuko Midoriya, but we won't talk about that. The reason I did this is so it has a more obvious grass typing, and baby eagles are known to have quite the messy hair. That's why Rufflet also has such messy hair. Chickpeep's name comes from chick, as in a baby bird, and chickpea, which is a type of vegetable which is cultivated for its seeds. And the last part of his name is peep. It's a sound that birds might make, and it also just sounds better than chickpea just regularly. The next Pokemon we will be dwelling upon is Bachar, the Fire Calf Pokemon. Bachar is based on the Indian bison or the gar, and its black coloration is in reference to that as well. I know the zodiac theory is outdated and proven to be false, but I did not follow the zodiac theory while doing this design. Bachar is supposed to be more rambunctious of this trio. It's very hot-headed and easy to anger, so it's not recommended for most trainers, but if you have a liking for these types of Pokemon, you should choose it. Bachar's name comes from Bacha, which is Bangla for kid, Char, which means to singe something, and Bachar, which means to save something. This design was pretty easy for me to do, because bovine Pokemon are really not that hard. Watch me say that, and the next bovine Pokemon I do be the hardest thing I ever do. The water starter of this Pokemon region is Hutz, the water snake Pokemon. Hutz is a small snake Pokemon which has a sad demeanor. I base this on how fishing nets are one of the more harmful ways of fishing and how it affects the creatures that it reels in. Hissud's name is pretty simple. Hiss comes from the sound that snakes make, hiss, and suds is a type of foam which usually happens when you use soap. If you're a keen viewer, you can see that the foam on this Pokemon is in the shape of fishing nets while also being clothing. This foam is made of slime, which is a reference to hackfish, since this line will also be eel related. Let's go ahead and evolve Hisuds. Hisuds evolves into Goophidian, the water snake Pokemon. Goophidian takes on the shape of a more eel-like Pokemon, and it now is more like the edgy teen phase of this Pokemon. And the name comes from goo, which is another word for slime, and ophidian, which is what snakes are part of. As you can see, Goophidian is getting more and more evil looking. This will be more expanded upon in its final stage. As Hisuds was entrapment, the final stage will be entrapper. The clothing aspect of this Pokemon is more expanded in this stage, and in the final stage it will be even more so. Let's move on to the evolution of Bachar. This is Floor Resist. Floor Resist is bipedal, and I know, stop booing me. I know bipedal starters are overrated and kind of hated by the Pokemon fandom right now, but in my humble opinion, I think bipedal starters are cool as hell because they show the bond between Pokemon and humans. Florizel currently is a mono fire type, and that will change in its final evolution. Its more humanoid stature will also be accentuated in its final stage. Florizest's name comes from flare, gar, which is the Indian bison, and resist, which is a slight hint at what the final stages theming will be, but I'll save that for the final stages. And that's all for Bachar's evolution. Now we should move on to the evolution of Peep, Ava Flora. Ava Flora is a very serious Pokemon which will not stand for any type of bullying. And sometimes this serious and stoic personality makes it the laughing stock of other Pokemon, which is not its intention because it only wants to help the weak out. Ava Flora's name comes from Avafauna, which is what birds are, and Flora, which is what plants are. It's a pretty simple name, but I think it works well. Ava Flora's design motifs are more leaning towards superhero-y and a bit more sleek than Peep. Peep's afro was cut out in this design, which is a bummer, I know, but now it makes way for a cool new slicked back hairstyle. Before we get into the final stages, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot, and it just makes my day a little bit better. Ava Flora evolves into Verudharma, the Garuda Pokemon. Verudharma is now also bipedal, and it takes on a more humanoid approach to the design. This is in reference to Garuda. Garuda is a god from Hinduism. His head is of a bird and he has wings, while the lower half of his body is mainly humanoid. I wanted to reference this because this Pokemon will have an interesting relationship with the final stage of the water starter. Verudharma is now a grass fighting type. This is in reference to its heroic demeanor and its newfound smile, which it didn't have in Ava Flora. This is in reference to superheroes who smile, like Superman or Metroman. Verudharma's name comes from Verud, which is related to plants, and Dharma, a type of energy. Let's evolve Florizest. Florizest evolves into Flame Muffins, the Fire Gar Pokemon, and it's now fully biped. Stop booing at me! I explained why it's bipedal in the previous stage. And now it has some cool dapper shades. Flame Muffins is now a Fire Electric type. Flame Muffins' inspirations go pretty deep. As we said before, Flame Muffins' line is based on the Gar, or the Indian bison, but it's also based on the yak, a Himalayan cow. And it is said that the yak bones hold great spiritual power, so that's why it has bones across its body, even though it is not a ghost type or a dark type or a ground type. It's just a reference to yak bones and their good nature. Another reference to Flame Muffins is Red Bull. I know you're asking why Red Bull specifically, because it's a bull and not a gar. While in India, there's a version of Red Bull which is called Red Gar. So that's kind of perfect for this design. Combine the flashy performances given by Red Bull and how steep Himalayan yaks live in, it makes for a good electric type, due to Red Bull being an energy drink. Flame Muffins' name comes from flame, methane, which is what cows produce when they fart, and methane, which is the Assamese name for gar. Let's evolve Goophidian. Goophidian evolves into Ensnare, the water eel Pokemon. Ensnare is now a water ghost type, taking a sinister turn in its design. And for once, this one isn't that humanoid, except for its clothing and expression. Insnary's ghost type is like Decidueye's ghost type. It isn't itself a ghost, but it has ghostly powers and ghosts around it. The reason for this is the amount of harm that fishing nets do. And now Insnary is more so eel based than snake based, which I know is a pretty steep turn going from a reptile straight into a fish, but I think it works because they have similar builds. Insnary's name is pretty simple compared to Veridharma and Flametons. Insnary comes from ensnare, which is the trap, and moray, which is the first part of moray eel. Now that I've revealed all 3 starters, which one would you pick? And finally, let's get on to the group teaming of them. The group teaming is pretty out there, but I think it brings a lot of attention to some recent events that went on here in Bangladesh. The group teaming is entrapment, resistance, and freedom. These are all in reference to the recent protests made by students and the dethronement of the corrupt government in Bangladesh, which is a hell of a good job for the students, which includes me, even though I didn't participate in any of it. But it's still a nice topic to bring attention to, since it's a pretty big event and it's pretty unknown to the rest of the world, so I'd like to bring some attention to it with these starters. And that's the end of this video. If you have any thoughts, please leave them in the comments, it helps me out a lot. And before we go, I'd like to advertise here. I have been doing commissions for a while, and these are my prices. And I accept payment through Payoneer.